Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today, John.
Thank you for having me.
And as I like to start every episode by telling you how I know the guest, the answer is I don't. But John is so kind to have messaged me on Facebook after talking with Mark Guay, one of our former guests, and he said, "I think I've got to quit you like." And he sent me this talk of him at Ignite San Diego, which Ignite are these short talks where they get a lot of content in like 5 minutes. And I absolutely love what John talked about. He has a major quit, and it's unique. And I think it's one that will help other people with their quits, because what John is going to talk about is quitting his stuff. And I think a lot of people who are afraid of changing jobs, it may be because that job change may require quitting your stuff. And I'm very excited to have him on and share with us. So, John, if you could take us back to when you first realized you may need to quit your stuff.
Oh, so it's several moments. I mean, I think it's several moments, and I think it led up to having people quit on me. And I am a product of being right-sided or riffed or fired from some major companies in 11 years, 7 companies, 7 severance packages. So
Wow.
I got quit on, in essence. I didn't quit them. They quit me, and a lot of them had to do with major mergers and all that stuff. Nothing performance related, but I kind of got used to being quit on. And then all of a sudden, I had a moment that I had to decide that I wanted to quit my stuff. And that moment came from a one day on May 23rd, 2012. I went to pay bills, and my birthday was the day before. So I just went to pay some typical bills. And day before, I probably had about $85,000 in my savings and checking accounts. And I went in to pay bills, and it said zero. So out of nowhere. And I was like, what the heck happened? I thought it was identity theft.
Yeah.
So I called Wells Fargo, and yes, I'm going to give them credit for this because it was a mistake on their part that they had swooped my accounts to pay a business loan that was 2 months to 2 to 3 months in arrears, which I had no idea, of $197 each month. So they decided to pay themselves over $80,000 for 3 months of something being behind, which I didn't even know it was. And then I'm at zero. So all of a sudden, that's that moment of like, okay, how important is my life? How important is the way that I live my life to recoup from this error on their part? Because it was an error on their part, but they never corrected. So I ended up having to revisit how I live life and who I want to work with, who I want to work for, and what I want to work for. And that was the big boom. That's what created this ripple effect that ended up me being the person that quit all this stuff, that put a Craigslist ad out there and said, if you have a story, let me know. I am having an estate giveaway, not even an estate sale, almost an estate giveaway. I just wanted to help people. So I started giving away everything that meant something to me.
And just so the people out there know who did not see this Ignite video that I had the privilege of seeing, you had some impressive stuff.
Yeah, there's a part of when you're a kid and you grow up and think in fourth grade, when your fourth grade teacher says, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you say, I want to own businesses. And she says, you want to be an entrepreneur? I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to spell it, but that's what I want to be. And as you go through life and you get promoted, and at 28, you're vice president of marketing. At 31, you're almost a CMO. Then at 35, you're CEO. You go up the ranks and you accumulate and you collect. And I was more of an accumulator than a collector of stuff, nice cars, nice homes. I'm a collector of good friendships now, but I don't. So we're going to be friends for, even though haven't met me. Now we're going to be friends.
Beautiful.
But but yeah. So I would just kind of through all those years started collecting and building and buying, and next thing you know, I have all this great stuff that I thought was great.
Yeah. Was there like a boat, or am I imagining that from this video?
Yeah, so first off, I do not swim. I'm 6'2", and I built a pool to my height of 6'2" in North Scottsdale. So I was that guy that watched Yo MTV Cribs and said, I want that pool. It is true. It is true. I saw bar stools in a pool on Yo MTV Cribs, and when I built my house, I made sure they did that. They built
Oh
that
my
for
God.
me. So yeah, so that I don't swim, and then yes, there was a boat. So I had never been on a boat before. One of my buddies had a boat in Chicago, and he came out to Arizona, and we thought it's cool to go to the marina. I thought it was pretty cool. So then I ended up getting a boat as well.
In Scottsdale. What you don't know is John is from Illinois. I am actually also from Illinois, and I lived in North Scottsdale for a while. So I drove. I didn't live in one of the houses with the 6'2" pools. I just drove by them on my
Yeah.
way to work at the Mayo Clinic and wondered what the lives were like of people with.
That's where I lived, right across the street from Mayo Clinic.
No way.
Yes, at 134th. So I lived right across the street in that custom home community.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
This is hilarious. I love it because now I have an exact idea of what we're giving up here in this story.
Yeah.
Anybody that went to residency with me also knows now. That's an impressive subdivision.
Yeah, that's the one I live in or lived in. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh
Yep.
my gosh. So, okay, there's suspense that I kind of let go there. You lost everything thanks to Wells Fargo, and did they eventually fix this error? Because it may or may not be related to the quit, but I think people are going to be dying to figure this out.
No, they didn't fix the error, and the error was, and this is for anybody who's listening, to read the fine print. And in the fine print of a business loan that's a personal guarantee, it says they have the right to pay themselves. Now, they should have made a lot more effort to let me know that I was a couple months behind, which they didn't, and they just used that. And then they didn't realize that I had a $5,000 a month mortgage with Wells Fargo. So to take for $1,000 behind, they take 85 plus, and then now I'm stuck with a $5,000 a month mortgage with them. And I even said that to them, like, are you guys not thinking? And I had a couple other loans with them that were in good status. It was just a savings account debit that I forgot to replenish the savings account. So the other all accounts were current except for this one that it just slipped my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
I still don't know how they don't owe you $83,000, but I don't know banking. So we will move on from there because the point is you decided at that point you're going to
I'm done.
your stuff.
I decided I'm done. I'm done. And through the years, as I unpacked literally all of my stuff on other people, and I don't mean just in a bad way, it's like people needed that. I remember a person there was a student at ASU, freshman, who did not get housing, and she needed stuff to find an apartment and didn't have anything, and her parents were there with her, and I was the good luck charm for her because she got bedding and she got towels and she got all these things that she couldn't afford to go to ASU. It was expensive.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of stories like that. So I feel like my stuff went to good homes. And even if it didn't, I got to detach from it because my mother was sitting right there holding on to like the most expensive of blenders and all these things. It's like, why are you giving this stuff away? What's wrong? And I'm like, just give it away. Let it go.
And you said in your Ignite talk what the tenet was behind all of this letting go.
Oh, it's freedom. It's freedom. And traditionally I have a baseball that I wrote the word freedom on. And if you hold the baseball with your thumb around DOM, you just see the word free. And then if you move your thumb a little bit more and let the D be shown, it's called freed. So I always believe that in order for you to really pursue what free is, you have to know what it feels to be freed. So then you can experience freedom. So I have this ball in my backpack, and I carry it around because I want to keep my eye on the ball. keep my eye on the ball and see that word freedom, and always be mindful of it, because freedom has a lot to do with boundaries. Freedom has a lot to do with what you say no and what you say yes to. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to stay on top of that feeling of freedom.
Yeah. And for those who may be listening, because I have a lot of high performing types who tune in and they are in one of these jobs and they may have accumulated stuff and they're thinking, gosh, that freedom sounds really nice, but so does this, Mercedes I have or whatever else. What kind of process did you go through as you were learning to detach from your stuff?
So I'm going to use getting rid of a boat that I used like once a month tops. And I probably, in that, maybe a couple times a month, and sat on it 2 out of 3 times that I was there. So never start the boat. So the idea of getting rid of the boat, this is how I approach detaching, because this is a skill. And I really believe detachment is a skill. And you have to practice it every day. The first thing that's important to me is I have no longer any interest in it. Like, I have to know I have no interest in it. And having a boat that I wasn't using was it was kind of silly. It was kind of silly. So I had no more interest in it because I had all the fun I wanted to have. Learned everything I needed to learn. I had all the fun I wanted to have. So the moment I have no interest, then I look at this feeling of free of regrets. Like, I have no regrets anymore. So whatever it is, so I have no regrets. Then all of a sudden, I feel a clear and unconfused direction. So I go from, I've got this boat, to, I don't want this boat anymore. So that's clear direction, even though I don't know how to sell a boat. Doesn't matter, because if I have no interest in it, if I have no regrets, if I have a clear view ahead, and it increases my energy, like, I'm thrilled to be getting rid of this boat because I don't have to pay $500 a month to slip it and all the gas and everything associated. So all of a sudden there's this energy boost. So I go through those 4 things. And then the last thing is I look at it and then I go back to where I started, which was, is this silly? It was silly to have an attachment to something that I wasn't using, that I had no regrets to let go of, that I didn't value much anymore, and that I was excited about the direction I was headed. So those are 5 pillars that I look at anytime I'm looking at detaching from a boat, from a home, from possessions, from even a client. I do a lot of business coaching, and I really look at it as like high performance coaching, so that businesses do way, way better than they ever have. And there's some clients that just aren't a fit for me. So again, when I don't have the interest, when I don't feel any regrets, I've done my best. I know that I don't want to be in that engagement anymore. And I feel energized, like, ooh, I don't have to talk to that person again. And then I feel silly when I'm thinking, oh no, I have to work with that person again. That's how I learn how to detach.
Yes. That's super valuable information because that third part, it was fourth, about noticing the increase in energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's crucial. I recently quit something that I was only spending about a week and a half an hour and a half per week on. And when I quit it, all of a sudden I was like, now I can do this and this and this. And I thought to myself, I only have an extra like 90 minutes, but I realized it was the mental space that thing was taking up that caused this kind of decrease in energy. And when that mental space was cleared out, I just felt like, oh, now I can do 1,000 things. I have so much more energy. And energy has this value that just because you're not physically doing a thing, if you're sitting here and feeling drained just because it's there, man, quit that. Get rid of that.
You bring up a powerful word, the word space. And those homes across the street from Mayo Clinic, I had a 4,000 square foot home. Bachelor, never married. So yes, so
Wow.
so the idea of space, 4 bedrooms, I mean, yes, lots of space, which means lots of stuff. So as I got rid of all the stuff, the space increased, but I felt the freedom increased as well because there, as a marketer, a classical marketer in Fortune 500 companies, the first 15 years of my career, we want you to believe that you have to put something in that space. We want you to buy it. 3-car garage. I had 2 cars. I can only drive 1 car at a time. So, so there is this fundamental that marketers do to make you feel less than if you have a lot of space and there's nothing in it. So by creating space, what I learned since then, after letting go and detaching from all that stuff, is that the space freed me up to invest in me. And what I mean by that is instead of chasing checks to pay for stuff, I got to create value and then receive checks. And then I became more creative. So it's when you get rid of that stuff, I found that life is more about experiences than stuff. So lots of things open up when you purposely create space for yourself. And that's a boundary. As I think we were talking about before, is like one of the important things that I've learned through this process is doing a better job with boundaries. Not that I haven't done a good job in the past, but just certain boundaries you kind of lose as you get distracted or sedated with everyday life. And the boundaries that show up is like, no, there's an edge. Do I want my life very complex or do I want it simple? Do I want it cluttered? Do I want it clear? So as you go managing your edges, I'm starting to lean to the edge that, and the labeling thing of minimalist, sure, I can say I kind of minimalist, but yeah, there's a lot to that.
Yeah. And you brought up a concept that in the first quitting workshop I ever gave, somebody brought up, which is a Marie Kondo clearing out your closet concept. But
Okay.
you look at this thing that you're having a hard time giving up, and you think like you said, is there any interest in anymore? But then you think like, I don't have any regret. I learned what I needed to learn from this. I got the fun out of it that I need to get out of it. It served its purpose. It gave me joy when I first got it. And if it's not bringing me that joy anymore, like you said, if there's no interest in it, then let it move on and continue its life cycle with somebody else who's going to be significantly more interested in it. That's just like, seems to be the the fairness of the cycle of things in the world. What good's it doing hiding in your closet?
I have a silly show in my head that I said, I wish I could write a show about where the stuff went and the lives of where that bookshelf went. Where I'll even give you an example. I had an exercise room that I gave all of the equipment to a guy, and I was going to say a kid, but a young man who was just starting to be a trainer. And he was looking for equipment. And I gave him, he thought I was kidding. He's like, are you sure? I said, no, there's 2 requirements here. 1, you have to take it all apart. And then 2, if I'm ever in town, you get to train me for free. And he's like, yeah. But the part is like what life that stuff takes on with other people. What did it do? I mean, I have bunches of examples of that. So when you just said that, it just caused me to think about, yeah, what happened to that stuff?
Yeah, the secret life of your stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Was there anything when you were quitting your stuff that you did still have some interest in? Like you said, the first thing is to say, do I have any interest in? Was there anything that was harder to give away than the rest?
You're good. You're good because my mother, she was helping me pack and helping me unpack or helping me pack. And what I was going to do is just take a carload of stuff from Scottsdale to San Diego, which included my dogs, my books, and my books, dog clothes, and music. She packed the car, and I went to go look in the car, and it was a lot of the stuff that I really wanted, that I adored. It was my golf clubs, my favorite suits, my whatever it was my favorites list, kind of like Oprah, my favorites list. So she puts all this stuff in the car, and I go with the car, and I see that I have nothing in the car that I need. Like, meaning the stuff I needed, she didn't pack. So I said, Mom, I'm so sorry, but you've got to take all this stuff out because I don't have the stuff that I need in here. And I said, if you want to keep any of it, because I'd already given almost everything away. So if you want to keep any of it, great. Or if you want to give it to my nephews or my niece, whatever. So she unpacked that entire car. And the stuff that I really, really wanted, I gave away. And the stuff I needed, I took with me. And that was the hardest stuff to give away, is the stuff that you wanted. And I'm talking like a signed basketball from Steve Nash and a bunch of just silly stuff that I didn't have room to be really bringing. Even my clubs, like my tailor-made custom clubs, prized possession, my nephew has them now. I don't think he's playing, so they're probably in the closet somewhere. But it was the prized possession stuff, the stuff that you'd get mad if somebody borrowed it. You know, so yeah. That's the kind of stuff that it was important. And once you give that away or detach from that, everything else is kind of irrelevant. And it makes it a lot easier to detach from things. Because I'm the dude who had a nice car that would park in the farthest parking spot in the back of the parking lot because I didn't want to get my car scratched. And I think of all that worry, that anxiety, that stress, because it was just stuff. Oof. I think my hair would grow back if I would have caught this earlier. My hair probably would go back. For those who don't know, I have a bald head, but yeah, all my worries came from just unnecessary stress over stuff.
Yeah, it's very true. And it's funny that you lived in North Scottsdale, because there is, and I talked about this with the last interview I did with Connor Moore, sometimes jobs or locations come with these expectations of stuff. And in Scottsdale, if you remember, when I was there, it was like 2005 to 2008.
That's when I was there.
Really? I love it. Every single person had, and I'm guessing you had something even nicer, but like the standard car that you had to have to live in North Scottsdale was a black BMW 3 Series.
Yeah. So I had a silver Mercedes 5 Series. So yeah,
you were living a little higher on the
right
than the rest of
right
us.
Right. And that's when I built the house in 2004, 5, and 6.
Wow. So, and I got there, and I remember like, okay, this is a standard issue. Got to get your black BMW 3 Series, and I got it. And I recall once walking out of the Trader Joe's, and I went up to my car, and I like hit the unlock button, and it doesn't unlock, and I like look around, there's another one. I went up to that one. It was a third. Finally, I found mine on the third try. I like finally got personalized plates. There were so many of the exact same car. But the point is, when you got the car, then they told you like, now you have to buy the most expensive gas. You can't just put regular gas in this, and you can't just go to any gas station. You have to go to like Shell or Exxon. And again, yes, you have to park in the farthest part. Oh my goodness. When I got rid of my BMW and got a Mazda, it was like the biggest like, oh, I can get whatever gas I want and I can park wherever I want to park it.
I love that you're saying that, because the BMW that I drove here in, I just gave away for public broadcasting in December. And I've never not had a car before since I was 22. And now I'm living an Uber life, and it's simple. It's easy. It's no worries about maintenance, insurance, any of that stuff. So I like that you said that about the car. What showed up for me was the idea of boundaries, because you're right that the society constructs, to me, they're societal constructs or social constructs that we buy into, and we forget that that's not our boundary, and we go above and beyond that. Yes, North Scottsdale, single guy. 2 of the homes in that whole community there was only 2 people that were single, and everybody else was families. And even with the family, some of the kids had BMWs like that, like literally driving to high school.
Yeah.
So you would see all of this follower mentality, and it was so easy to get caught up in it. And I did get caught up in it. And what I learned about myself through the years is like, was my self-esteem mine? Did I build my regard for myself around what was really important to me or what was important to others? And I love my mother. I do. But that home and the boats and all the stuff was bragging rights for her. Like, look at my son. Look at my son. And one of the hardest mountains to climb when you're looked at as a hero, like, wow, he went from nothing to this, is when you let it all go or you're still a hero. And that has been something that I shed a lot of tears over, because this experiment is only almost 6 years old now. And the low points were less than 3 years ago. Because if you untangle all that and then you go and sleep on an air mattress on the floor in San Diego, when you had two master bedrooms, you kind of look at yourself and wondered, am I crazy? Am I, what is it? And once you get to the other side and you look back, you'll say, wow, my esteem was for everybody else, how they would regard me versus how I regard myself. So for those that are out there debating on what does the other side look like when you get rid of all your stuff, it's clear, it's free, it's enlightenment, it's about giving versus taking. I mean, there's so much value to being on the other side.
Yeah. And while that would be just a beautiful place to end, there's definitely one more thing I wanted to ask you about, because you brought it up in there and you brought it up in your talk. And it's a huge quit, one of the most difficult quits, and that's quitting an identity. And you said in your talk, like you said just now, you'd kind of identified as the hero. And in your talk, you talked about you were Uncle John with all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How did you like reshape your identity?
Yeah, I felt like the reshaping of my identity was like a snowman in the springtime in Chicago. Like, it just started to melt away. Like, and what was left underneath was what was always there. And I always love how the book The Alchemist, I don't know if you've read it,
Yes.
but
Yes.
there's this, it's just about this journey. And I think this, like the Wizard of Oz, there's all these stories about it's already in there. And I think this process was melting. It just melted like a snowman to my essence of who I am, who I serve, and why I exist. And that only shows up when you kind of clear everything away. So that's how I got to this moment, is leaning into the uncomfortable and knowing that if people think I'm crazy, I'm on to something. And I say that because there was a couple that came into my home as I was getting rid of all the stuff in Scottsdale, an older guy, probably like 65, 70 years old, and he pulled me aside and said, "What are you doing?" And I thought, I'm already fragile anyway, because watching all my stuff go, my mom is disappointed. I mean, it was crappy. And I said, I've had enough. This is not me. And he said, congratulations. I'm like, what? He says, I'm a CEO coach of guys over the age of 60 to 80. And what you were doing in your early to mid 40s is what they should have done 20 years ago. So if anybody tells you that you're crazy, you're on to something. And I swear it was like an angel. I mean, if he would have just, a puff of smoke would have happened and he would have gone away. I mean, it felt like that. I don't know who the guy is to this day, but it was meant for me to hear that, because you second guess yourself a lot And as you go through detaching, know that you're going to second guess yourself a lot and keep moving forward.
John, that was so beautiful. I love it. We are going to end right there. I cannot thank you enough for sharing your story. Oh, it had everything. There's identity quits. There's stuff quits. There's a Scottsdale quit. You quit a BMW.
Right.
Everything we could ask for.
I'm a quitter.
Yes, loud and proud. Thank you so much for being with us, John.
Thank you.
All right. For everybody else out there, until next time, happy quitting.